So we're on our way to the furniture store to buy a gift, and there's just this parade going on. Oh my God. This is the beautiful thing I'm gonna give the bride and groom for their wedding. A love seat for two. It's Saturday night in El Alto, and I'm crashing a somewhat traditional Bolivian wedding. The ceremony begins with a gift giving, followed by the chugging of beers, not forgetting to pay respects to Pachamama, the goddess of earth, time, and fertility, followed by dancing and more beer. My guide on this journey is Glenda Yanez, a fashion designer, and like the married couple we came to see, Glenda is Aymaran, Bolivia's majority indigenous population. I'm in Bolivia to attend the Iconoclast fashion show, where Glenda will be showing her first ever collection. Her designs are based on the indigenous dress known as pollera. Glenda also runs one of the country's first indigenous modeling schools that teaches Aymara women how to properly dress in the traditional style known as Cholita.
Durante esa época, el pueblo sufrió mucho, ¿no? No dejaban, les han impuesto algunas vestimentas, pero ellos han hecho que esas vestimentas se adapten también a lo que éramos como pueblo. Y ahora nosotros estamos tratando de hacer ver esto al mundo.
Commonly identified by the pollera skirt with a bowler hat and shawl, this fashion phenomenon goes back to the Spanish colonizers, who imposed a pseudo-European style of dress on indigenous Bolivians in an attempt to civilize them. The iconic Cholita style evolved out of indigenous women adapting this look to fit their own more colorful aesthetic. Until recently, the word Cholita was a derogatory term used for poor indigenous women. Cholita women were even banned from certain restaurants and from using public transportation.
Nuestros abuelos creo que han sufrido más. Nuestras madres ya menos, y nosotros ya somos la generación que ahora ya estamos como reclamando lo que es nuestro ahora.
Right. And now that you guys have taken to wearing it, do you feel discrimination when you wear it?
No, ya no se siente.
Ya no. Yo creo que eso ha avanzado más ya, digamos, como país también, porque desde el mismo estado no todos somos iguales y incluso ya en la gobernación existen ministras de pollera.
I also heard that the sexiest part of a Cholita is her...
Las pantorrillas.
Okay. Is this like really scandalous what you're doing right now?
Entonces del sombrero dicen así, soltera. Así, casada.
Yeah. But I told you if you're a tricky guy, you're just like...
Depende.
Additions like the bowler hat arrived from Europe in the 1920s, intended for railroad workers, but were apparently the wrong size and color. Somehow they ended up in the hands of the Cholita women, who have been wearing these precariously placed items ever since. Nowadays, the bowler hat is the crown jewel of the Cholita outfit and can often be the most expensive part of the ensemble. Is it common for Cholitas to model?
No es común. Queremos que todo el mundo vea nuestra ropa, pero en nosotros, como a nosotros nos queda. Vestir a una modelo que no sepa usar pollera va a distorsionar todo lo que nosotros queremos mostrar al mundo.
Glenda is preparing her designs for the Iconoclast fashion show, a government-sponsored event showcasing designers hailing from all across Bolivia. Glenda is one of only 2 designers representing indigenous fashion.
Alguna vez he hablado con alguien y cuando la gente del extranjero piensa en una cholita, piensa en una mujer pobre, desarreglada, y no somos así. Yo siento que puedo mostrar, intento cambiar la imagen que la gente del extranjero tiene para ver a una cholita.
This indigenous fashion is only now being widely accepted, which is surprising considering over half of Bolivia's population identifies as indigenous, the largest percentage in all of Latin America. Despite this majority, they have for centuries been the downtrodden and the disenfranchised. Ruled over by the Incas, then the Spaniards, and eventually by their descendants, the mestizo class, the indigenous people have never had the opportunity to rule themselves. That is, until this man. Evo Morales is Bolivia's first indigenous president. Since taking office, he's used his cultural heritage to rally support from across the country as the underdog that would fight for the rights of the indigenous people. And compared to his predecessors, Evo has made a point to dress in stark contrast to what Bolivia is used to seeing in their president. I'm about to go in to meet Cierico, who is Evo's tailor. And clothes have been extremely important to Evo in terms of pronouncing his indigeneity. And Cierico has been instrumental in sort of cultivating that image. He is also making me a coat, which I'm very excited to try on.
Pasaron personas, estadistas del Estado, presidentes, políticos, empresarios, actualmente el presidente, ¿no? Esa es una creación mía. Ya, ahora sí.
Yeah.
A mí me parece muy formal, como es prenda femenino, yo prefiero darle un poco de color. Mira las entalladas, qué bonitas.
Do you feel that Evo uses the suits that you make for him as a way to reinforce his political message of promoting indigeneity?
Netamente es el dignificar con el traje que lleva. ¿De qué sirve que es un presidente que representa una nación, ¿no?, plurinacional indígena, su vestimenta sea igual que cualquier occidental? No.
And how did Evo dress before you started dressing him?
Él vestía su chompa, soltadito, como cualquier trabajador, como un obrero. Me presentó una chamarra y dije, no, no puede ser esto así. El presidente tiene que diferenciarse mucho para que él represente, tal como es de una representante de una nación originaria.
I heard you play the guitar. Do you have your guitar here?
Ya, a ver si podemos hacer algo.
Oh, yeah. Nice move. The usherance of indigenous pride has become a new form of nationalism, what Evo calls a dignified Bolivia. The flag of the indigenous people of the Andes, the Huipala, now serves as the nation's dual flag. While Bolivia remains one of the poorest countries in South America, the economic policies that Evo has put into place have been focused on the indigenous class, who have seen rapid economic growth. And as more indigenous Bolivians are coming out of poverty, they're exhibiting their growing wealth. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the buildings of Aymaran architect Freddy Mamani. Mamani's buildings can be seen all over El Alto, Bolivia's second largest city. Located next to La Paz, and with 3/4 of the population Aymaran, El Alto represents Evo's cultural and political base. Hola, Freddy.
Hola.
So nice to meet you.
Bienvenida.
Oh my God.
Buen día. Y
This
es
is
una obra-
insane.
Mi fuerte es las iconografías andinas de Tiahuanaco y luego los colores de los textiles, de los aguayos, de los ponchos, de los chulos, de las chuspas que llevamos, de las fajas, todo eso.
How has Evo's presidency allowed you to pursue this kind of work?
Mira, justamente yo he empezado el 2002 y el 2003 ha habido la guerra del gas en el Alto, con más de 67 muertos y más de 400 heridos.
Before Evo took power and nationalized Bolivia's vast natural gas resources, a series of protests over gas exploitation, known as the Gas War, rocked the country. Indigenous miners and laborers took to the streets in violent clashes over privatization. Martial law was then declared in El Alto.
Cuando nosotros construimos ahí, ha habido matanza justo en la calle donde construíamos. Entonces, a mí me ha dado bronca, me ha dado rabia. ¿Hasta cuándo vamos a estar humillados, no? De esa manera. Entonces, ha sido como una expresión, como una reivindicación social, económica, cultural, a través de la arquitectura, de la llegada de Evo Morales, porque la economía ha mejorado bastante.
Right.
Entonces, ha habido el boom de la construcción en el Alto, incluso en todo el país.
Right.
Entonces, ha sido una oportunidad también, digamos, quizás una coincidencia de que yo haya innovado esta nueva tendencia arquitectónica y el presidente justamente ha llegado en el mismo año y ha sido un... Ahí, ¿no?
Right place, right time.
Y empezamos así.
Credited with inventing new Andean architecture, his buildings stand out amongst their modest concrete surroundings as a symbol of Bolivia's emerging middle class.
Sí, estamos construyendo, te cuento, ya son una obra de 8 plantas más o menos.
I mean, this is like one of the most striking places I've ever been in my life.
Did you always want to be an architect?
Yo he visto que hacía una falta, digamos, de este tipo de arquitectura acá en la ciudad del Alto. A toda esa masa, a toda esa población, le faltaba una identidad arquitectónica. Hacemos casi obras de arte, digamos, donde resaltan y es una identidad boliviana.
This cultural renaissance in Bolivia has influenced pop culture in some pretty dramatic ways. Indigenous Aymaran culture is becoming more visible throughout Bolivia in fashion and architecture. What was once looked down upon is now accepted as mainstream. Despite being the majority of the population, for decades, indigenous Bolivians have been getting their news from mestizo anchors that look like this. But Bertha Acarapi is one of the first anchors in Bolivia to proudly wear her pollera on air.
El fiscal de Distrito de Tarija anunció que se iniciará una investigación para determinar las causas que provocaron el incendio en este mercado.
Salimos con breves, ¿no?
Sí, salimos con breves.
En La Paz y después nosotros.
A mí me gusta, siempre me ha gustado reflejar el trabajo de mi barrio, de mi comunidad, de mi ciudad, ¿no? Mostrar lo malo, lo bueno y lo feo que tiene, ¿no? Hay noticias que ni siquiera quisieras darlas, ¿no? Por ejemplo, murió una mujer en pareja, en manos de su pareja, ¿no? Otro caso de feminicidio. Entonces son noticias que a uno les duele.
How have you been received by the public?
Muy bien, porque mucha gente, mujer de pollera, las mujeres indígenas inmediatamente se han identificado conmigo, ¿no? Cuando me encuentro con la gente en la calle me dice, qué bien te he visto, estabas reflejando lo que realmente nos hace falta en la ciudad del Alto, ¿no? Entonces me recibe muy bien.
When you started doing this job, did you feel any pressure to change the way that you dress to sort of accommodate what newscasters usually look like?
Hace muchos años sí, ¿no? Ya el proceso de cambio que se ha venido de hace muchos años nos ha permitido y nos ha dado oportunidad a las mujeres de pollera que ocupemos espacios muy importantes. Y ahora, ¿no? Yo que estoy en un medio de comunicación, pues me siento muy orgullosa y digo, caramba.
La segunda jornada de bloqueos en la ciudad.
From the news to politics, Cholita women are now taking on prominent roles throughout society, in all arenas. libre culture is huge here in Bolivia, and although the sport is technically a Mexican import, the inclusion of the Cholita wrestler is entirely unique to this country. Donning a pollera and braids, Carmen Rosa is one of Bolivia's most famous lucha libre wrestlers.
So I ran outside to see if I could catch Carmen to speak to her after her fight. She's just passed out in this cab. She looks like she's feeling pretty rough. I think the image of a man sort of holding a chain around Carmen Rosa's neck while she's in pollera was really striking. And for all these young kids to be seeing this at a really young age, it seems, I'm not really sure what the effects of it are. How are you feeling?
Cansada todavía.
Can I ask how old you are?
Sí, tengo 46 años.
Damn!
Sí.
And how long have you been doing this for?
Cuando invitaron a que sí podíamos entrenar las mujeres, me animé a entrenar. Yo estoy haciendo desde el 2001.
That's a long time. What's your best move? Mine is grab, twist, pull.
A ver qué. Esito así de entradita, por ejemplo. Le agarras.
Oh my God.
Así.
Oh my God. Ow.
Suavito. Y esas fuertes así.
Carmen.
O le puedes agarrar aquí.
Oh my God.
Lo puedes botar ahí, pero
And then you flip me
suavito.
over onto the concrete and my head cracks open.
Sí.
I was surprised how young the crowd is here. Do you think it's bad for them to see this kind of violence at such a young age?
No, creo que no. Más bien es una demostración que las mujeres, siempre los hombres están pegando a las mujeres y queremos ser un ejemplo para que no se dejen pegar. Hay mucho feminicidio en estos últimos años, entonces eso está mal.
Even as some Aymara women have gained social recognition, Bolivia has the worst domestic abuse rate in all of South America. 90% of women in Bolivia say that they've experienced violence at some point in their life, and 53% experience violence at the hands of their partner. Although Evo's government has passed laws that protect the rights of women, experts attribute this domestic violence to a culture of machismo.
Yo sé que muchas mamás de algunos niños sufren maltrato de parte de los varones, entonces deben decir ellos, dentro de ellos, yo quisiera que mi mamá sepa así luchar para que cuando mi papá le esté pegando se defienda.
When women in your community look at you, what do you think that they see?
Un ejemplo, y siempre me la dicen, me abrazan las señoras así de pollera, me dicen, Carmen, eres un ejemplo, felicidades, seguí adelante, tienes nuestro apoyo. Quedan muy admirados de la capacidad que la mujer, solamente él no tiene la fuerza que una mujer también puede tener la fuerza.
Just as Carmen has fought her way to the top of the lucha libre scene, it's women who run one of Bolivia's most unusual black markets.
We are in the highest capital city in the entire world, and I have to say the altitude is really gnarly here. It makes you feel like you have like a constant hangover. Anyway, my man Freddie here, who's our lovely driver, he has one of the local cures that he's gonna help me partake in, which is the coca leaf.
This is good for the stomach and the stomach.
So, and this isn't illegal.
No, mucha gente confunde esto con la cuestión del narcotráfico, sí, pero no. Es normal
Yeah.
en Bolivia.
Okay, I'll hold that, hold
You can prove.
Okay.
That's that.
Yeah. Is sugar?
Yeah.
Or is it cocaine? I'm scared.
For decades, Bolivia was wrapped up in the US-led war on drugs. In an attempt to stem the flow of cocaine from South America, the initiative targeted one of Bolivia's biggest and most beloved crops, the coca leaf. Bolivians are in love with the coca. It's deeply rooted in the culture and has been cultivated for centuries as traditional medicine. But it can also be used to make cocaine. Violent clashes ripped through the countryside as government armed forces backed by the DEA destroyed the plant and the livelihoods of entire villages throughout the country. Evo Morales, who actually came from a family of coca farmers, rose to power as the leader of the coca union as a result of these actions. And later started the political party MAS, the Movement Towards Socialism. The party ran on the platform of anti-imperialism, anti-capitalism, and you guessed it, pro-coca. When Evo won the presidency in 2006, he expelled the DEA to protect coca farmers. As a result, the US government retaliated by cutting off trade deals, sparking another kind of illegal trade that's accounting for millions of dollars of black market contraband.
Estamos en una etapa, un reto del gobierno es luchar contra el contrabando. El año 2006 se hizo un decreto supremo, el 28761, donde prohíbe la importación, venta de la ropa usada.
That's right, the government banned used clothing. Evo argued that Bolivian dignity was at stake by wearing America's cast-offs, and government reports surfaced suggesting that the clothes being brought in were a threat to national health. And just as America had gone to war with drugs, Bolivia went to war with broken-in khakis.
Seguir trabajando porque hay una voluntad política de nuestro gobierno para coartar el contrabando. Tiene ya sus decomisos fuertes, que es la ropa usada, ¿no? Más de 2.436.000 fardos de ropa usada se han decomisado a la fecha. También más de 1.000 camiones decomisados. Llega de Estados Unidos, de Europa, a Iquique la ropa usada. Tenemos en un centro, por ejemplo, que tenemos en Cholita, en Santa Cruz, con Avia en Santa Cruz. Entonces, hay peces gordos, contrabandistas monopolizan.
I'm meeting one of the big fish smugglers on a road just outside of La Paz.
Feels like sort of strange to be meeting with a smuggler in a country like Bolivia who smuggles clothing and not drugs.
Because importing secondhand clothing is illegal, he is asked for his identity to be concealed.
Uno escuchaba ahí lo que no hablaban sobre que se puede traer ropa, que hay más utilidades, pero como está prohibido, ingresa generalmente por el contrabando.
What is your understanding of Evo's reason for making this illegal?
Las empresas de textiles, de ropa, presionan al gobierno a que no deje entrar ropa para preservar la cuestión de la industria nacional. En realidad es difícil, ¿no? ¿Qué se llama? Competir con los precios. El gobierno está en un punto medio donde presionan de otro lado, presionan también los que venden ropa usada.
And so, in an effort to keep cheap, high-quality clothes from competing with the Bolivian textile industry, an industry that had gone bankrupt after Evo cut ties with the US, an unintentional black market was created. A market estimated to be a $40 million industry, employing tens of thousands of people.
Generamos trabajo a miles de personas en el hecho de que no solamente trabajo yo, trabajan lavadoras, planchadoras, taxistas, comideras, cargadores, entonces somos mucha gente que dependemos de este tipo de mercadería.
Elizabeth Verestegui has built an empire on the secondhand clothing trade. She deals in used clothes, owns a boutique dress shop, and despite it being an illegal enterprise, represents a used clothes workers union.
Aquí yo empecé a trabajar.
This is where you first started.
Y este fue mi primer puesto de venta.
And why did you start selling clothes here?
A veces el hecho de ser una mujer y que el hombre trabaje, los hombres a veces nos quieren pisar porque no generamos dinero económicamente y esa fue mi motivación más que todo, ser independiente, tener mi dinero y salir adelante. Me emociona porque un día yo comencé aquí.
Yeah.
Trabajé con mis niños pequeños. Gracias a esto salí adelante. Y lo que más me da satisfacción que se me han abierto las puertas para pelear por otras mujeres que estaban como yo, sometidas con una represión. Y gracias a esta ropa es una bendición para mí haber salido adelante, haber formado a mis hijos y haber crecido yo también como persona.
Tomorrow, Elizabeth is taking me to the drop point for this contraband.
El día que entre por parte del gobierno a estos mercados, va a ser una matanza.
With the fashion show days away, Glenda is taking me to the biggest Pollera market to pick up some finishing touches for her collection.
Okay, so where are we?
Sí, este es el lugar donde sucede todo. Aquí es donde la gente compra las telas para hacer todo lo que es de pollera.
This is where you buy all of your fabrics for your designs?
Sí, aquí es donde compro todas mis telas para mis diseños.
Esa que es de 10 rastas, la cintura es 80.
That one looks huge, no?
Por eso las polleras son mandadas a hacer.
Okay. Should I take it for a spin? An actual spin. Good?
Sí, está bien.
Yeah, this is nice, I think. All right, part one.
Enough.
The Pollera outfit, with all of the layers and accessories, is a pretty big commitment. The petticoats, the hat, the shoes, hair extensions, it all starts to add up.
This is really complicated. How much?
The full outfit can cost up to $2,500, and that's not even including jewelry.
How much are these?
In fact, Bolivian-made textiles in general are kind of a luxury, making Evo's policy of buying Bolivian a hard thing to swallow.
I think, like, kind of, oh. What do you call that in Spanish? Mierda.
Although the fortunes of some have improved under Evo, Bolivia remains one of the poorest countries on the continent. So when a new Bolivian-made shirt costs over 3 times that of a used American one, the choice to buy used clothing is not only a more attractive option, but a necessary one for many Bolivians. I'm on my way back to El Alto to visit an open-air market that is the drop point where bales of secondhand clothing arrive after being smuggled in from neighboring countries. El Alto is an important base for Evo because it's made up of a majority indigenous population. Ironically, Evo's ban on secondhand clothing affects the very people that keep him in power. I'm meeting with Elizabeth from last night. She's agreed to show me around to give me a better understanding of the scope of this trade.
Es la feria más grande de Bolivia y de Sudamérica. La lana de alpaca
it's really
es
soft,
la más fina que para tejer.
While some of this market is totally legal, it doesn't take much to find illegal used clothes for sale out in the open. Elizabeth is taking me to one of her most trusted dealers, Miss Teresa. She runs a section of this market.
Antes usaban abarcas y gracias a la ropa de segunda mano ya esas cosas se han perdido.
Secondhand clothing, which is intended as aid for bordering countries, is sold to smugglers in giant bundles and then taken across the border to be sold at markets like this.
So this is your bale?
And here's one now. Some of the good stuff. 100% pure, uncut American sweatpants.
Has the government ever come into a market like this and tried to shut it down?
Todavía no, porque el día que entre por parte del gobierno a estos mercados, va a ser una matanza.
Despite the fact that it's illegal, the used clothes trade is a thriving industry in a country where jobs are scarce, leaving Evo caught between his political ideology and the economic reality here in Bolivia. And markets like these are popular with everyone in Bolivia, even wealthier people from La Paz who travel here looking for a good deal.
Hay que, realmente, las más lindas normalmente quedan abajo.
Alejandra is a mestizo, middle-class Bolivian who comes to this market every month to shop.
¿Y a cuánto está para ver si la lleva o no?
120 este casero.
Sí, no, creo que está mucho casi.
It's okay, it's okay. Just why? Because we were looking at hers?
No, no sea mala, señora.
En tu país anda, sácate donde tú quieras.
Te muestro mi carnet, soy boliviana.
Ya, pero anda más allá.
Ah, ya, entonces...
Aquí no.
So they're screaming, like, go back home. Not only to me, but also to you.
Yo no soy parecida físicamente a ellos, entonces siento que por eso también me atacan. Y muchas veces, no solo acá, es como un racismo que se ha generado acá.
And when did that start happening?
Desde que surgió, se sintió mucho ya esa agresividad. Pero también como que los blancos en un principio también eran racistas. Fue como que estamos ahora nosotros, sientan lo que se sentía.
El gobierno intente gobernar solo para los indígenas. Este ha sido un gobierno de la confrontación, de la división.
For hundreds of years, indigenous people have been treated like second-class citizens and ruled over by the mestizo class. But now that the tables have turned, many mestizos in Bolivia feel alienated.
This idea of reverse racism is really interesting, and I was wondering where the places you feel it the most are.
El racismo a la inversa es un fenómeno que se ha venido dando en este país muy fuertemente a partir del gobierno del presidente Evo Morales. Optó por vengarse de las clases y de los grupos que lo tenían marginado en la política previamente. Yo me he sentido muchas veces discriminado como persona de tez blanca boliviano, es decir, se le ha agregado un elemento más al racismo en vez de erradicarlo.
Since I've been here, the one thing that is just impossible to ignore is this Evo graffiti that is everywhere. It's very big brothery, and it's everywhere you look. It says Evo, Evo, sí. And then some people have come across and said no over it.
Ha habido hace muy poco en Bolivia un referéndum sobre la reelección del presidente Evo Morales. Yo con un grupo de jóvenes hemos hecho una campaña muy grande a nivel nacional para el no a la reelección del presidente Evo Morales y como todo el mundo ya sabe, hemos ganado.
The referendum was an attempt by Evo to change the constitution in order to run for a fourth term in 2019. The results reflected a divide in the country, and Evo ultimately lost by a slight margin.
Nosotros sentimos que las nuevas generaciones de bolivianos tienen una nueva esperanza, más allá de lo que se estaba convirtiendo de alguna manera en una dictadura.
Guys, I'm on Lake Titicaca. This has been a lifelong dream of mine. And if you are a fan of Beavis and Butthead, you also love Titicaca.
The time has come for Glenda's fashion show, and she's asked me to walk in it. At an elevation of over 12,000 feet, the Ministry of Culture chose Lake Titicaca to host the Iconoclast fashion show.
It's early morning here on Lake Titicaca, and I have to say it's sort of eerily quiet. So I'm a little bit confused as to who's coming to this fashion show, where the models are, where it's gonna happen. But Glenda has been working all night to finish her collection. So I'm going to meet her right now to try on my look. So what do we start with?
Esto viene abajo así.
Right. I don't know if these holes are open anymore.
Perdón.
Oh! Could hear it pop.
Hola.
Hola, I'm Hailey. All right, let's get you into your looks. Where are you guys from?
Yo soy de Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, Bolivia.
Santa Cruz, Bolivia también. Okay. These ones don't fit you? Have you ever worn something like this?
Nunca.
How does it feel?
Raro.
It seems like you're vibing with this outfit.
Nunca me lo había puesto antes y me gusta mucho, ya que es algo típico de aquí de Bolivia.
Yeah. And you live in Argentina?
Sí, soy de Argentina.
And how does it make you feel to wear it?
La verdad que me gusta. A mí todo lo que es cultura de otros países es algo que me gusta y lo disfruto.
Seems like none of these models are Amira. And this is all their first time in a pollera, which seems to be a little strange considering this fashion show is being put on by the Ministry of Culture. I noticed that none of the models that you're using today are Cholita.
Cuando yo he entrado al evento, yo he preguntado cómo van a ser las modelos y si se podía usar otro tipo de modelos, y me dijeron que se tenía que usar las modelos del evento. A mí me perjudica mucho porque todas las personas de aquí van a pensar que yo no he querido usar modelos cholitas y no es así. La noche me puse a llorar porque dije, por ahí no termino, por ahí me sale mal, pero creo que es una gran oportunidad para mí.
Hola, 1, 2, 3. Hola. Hola, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I'm really nervous about this plank situation over here. This is like terrifying to me. This white car here still seems to be a problem. They're gonna have to tow it, I think. We gotta get this car out of the way. It's 1:30. Show is supposed to start at 12. I think it's gonna start at 2 now, but we will see.
Bienvenidas a todos los que están presentes en esta cuarta edición de Iconoclasta. Esta tarde maravillosa en la cual vamos a estar compartiendo.
Qué gusto tenerlos en esta tarde, definitivamente.
Finally, 4 hours late, the show starts.
Un paraíso único, pero tenemos en La Paz, en Bolivia. Es boliviano y es algo típico.
As the sun sets, the fashion show continues. Western designs covering slim mestizo models seem to make up most of the fashion show's lineup, which may not be a surprise considering the show's organizers are from Santa Cruz.
I'm a little bit nervous to get on the runway to be in front of all of these local women in their garb, looking like a dumb white person.
Halfway through the show, the organizers tell Glenda that they're moving her to the last slot of the day. As models became available, we were finally allowed to get dressed and for Glenda to start preparing her show.
Glenda, por favor.
No van a entrar, no. No. Tienen que esperar. No, tienen que esperarme.
None of us are ready because they give us no space and no time to change all these models. Still don't have earrings or hats or anything. The sun is going down, it's freezing, the crowd has left.
¿Me pueden asegurar?
4 hours late and with the sun already down, Glenda prepares to send her models out into the dark.
En Iconoclasta, en el lago Titicaca. Glenda Yáñez.
As a you to the organizers, Glenda sneaks in some of her Cholita friends from her modeling school. But it feels like too little, too late.
How are you feeling?
Me hubiera gustado que sea diferente. Una chola no se viste así. Gracias, chicas.
¡Feliz cumpleaños a ti!
Oh yeah, and on top of everything, today is Glenda's birthday. It's unclear whether the fashion show debacle had been an act of discrimination or just run-of-the-mill incompetence. I'm on my way to Glenda's home to discuss it further.
Hola. Hola. Espera. Esta es mi cocina. No, la persona que me ayuda,
Hola.
Elizabeth.
How did you find your mom's fashion show the other day?
Bueno, estuvo muy interesante por los colores que utilizó y la creatividad también. Como hubo algunos problemas, pero estuvo muy lindo.
How are you feeling?
Sí, me hubiera gustado que sea de otra manera, una manera donde se vea realmente todo lo que una chola paseña es.
Do you think that when you're older that you'll wear the pollera?
Sí, yo creo que sí, porque mi mamá tiene una fraternidad y...
Mi abuela sufrió por ser de pollera, ¿no? Cuando subía al minibús, esta chola, que viene con su bulto y cosas así. Admiraba mucho a mi abuela. Era una mujer muy trabajadora. Yo me enamoré de ella, de su vestir, de su porte. Hubiera querido que me vea.
Do you think that your grandmother could have imagined a world like this?
Creo que le hubiera gustado mucho estar ahora en todo este movimiento que se ha creado con visión a lo indígena.
Los aymaras siempre, incluso antes de la colonia, hemos sido ricos, ¿no? Desde la invasión de los españoles nos han hecho sumisos, digamos, a que nosotros no tengamos esa libertad de expresarnos. Siempre hemos tratado de estar ahí como cortados, digamos, la voz, ¿no? Como no tener derecho a exponer lo que tenemos, ¿no? Pero ya desde la llegada del presidente Evo Morales ha cambiado bastante la sociedad, la cultura aymara, incluso las diferentes etnias que existen en Bolivia, ya se expresan.
So initially when I came here, I thought that I was going to walk into a very united country. And what I found is that although Evo's policies have been very successful in some ways, it's also been really divisive. And it cannot be argued that he has done incredible things in an extremely short space of time for the indigenous people here. And I think in some ways the scales have tipped to the point of no return, and that no matter who comes into office next, the pride and the recognition that he has given the indigenous people here cannot be taken away from them.